Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FGM eCast, and it is not quite yet Season 5, but the Last Chance Saloon Season 5 qualifying for AUSPROAM Sim Series. Got a lot of stuff to cover tonight as we look at this final qualifying leg. Just having a little bit of trouble with the overlay, so we're just going to have it on highlights, all the best drivers going through, and I am joined by the best in the business. It is Carl Withy and Scotty Rankin for this one tonight. How are we, gents?
I love being lied to on a Tuesday night. Thank you, Stuart. Best in the business.
Yeah,
no.
Carl's here. Carl's here.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you're right. No, you're 100% right. Carl's here. Carl, how are you?
I am very well, thank you.
There was a comma in. It was the context, Scotty. You missed the context. It was the best in the business. Carl Withy, comma, and Scotty. No, of course not. Absolutely the best in the business. Absolutely, we are. So, but back here at Zolder, and got to talk. There's a lot to cover tonight. It's a little bit more casual stream. We've got the rundown here to make sure you qualify for the feature series, to sort out the amateurs from the pro category, but also this little thing they've introduced called Pass 2.
Yeah, that's going to be my baby for this season because I'm going to be running in it. So I had a quick chat to the team and everyone off board, and I was like, I've been looking to pick up another series. Great way to raise the curtain. Great way to get some data on the track because I'm going to be getting it firsthand. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, no bias in the booth, of course, because we will ignore Scotty's.
No. You can 100% come out and say that I drive like a moron because that will 100% be me. So
I don't know if the cameras go that far back down the grid, Scotty.
No, they don't. They don't. Yeah, you're right.
We need a bigger zoom on the lens, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely we will. So we'll have to get you to do the run through all the way through the field. So, but no, it's good. We're going to have Scotty in the car there, so we might get you on board if we aren't distracting to do that, Scotty. But
yeah,
we'll see how all of that fares. So I'll just let you gentlemen talk amongst yourself. I'm just trying to get this overlay sorted because it is frustrating living bejesus out of me, and I'll be back with you in a minute.
I'm pretty sure the camera feed that we're getting from the live PC is the server that I'm in. So there's two, for the viewers' benefit so far this evening, there are two servers that are out there and transmitting data this evening. The reason for that is that we needed to make sure, well, Sam Lehman needed to make sure that there was enough positions out on track to ensure that everyone that wanted to register could qualify. I can tell you, currently, there are 72 drivers who have set a lap, Carl.
Yeah, there's a fair few of them out there. It is just mad how many drivers are out on the track at the moment. In the other server, in the other version, we have company up there, Timothy Harris. So he's one of the fastest drivers out there after a really strong season last season. But there are just so many cars out there, and so many different makes of cars as well, because that's one of the other big changes this season, is we have all the cars.
Yep, so there's going to be no more coming up with, I believe, specific setups for each of the car. Well, the cars are going to all have setups. One of the biggest issues was handling the pop. A couple of seasons ago, when we did have all 7 manufacturers, I nearly said makes, well, makes and manufacturers out there at the same time. So keep your eyes out, guys. You just saw, I believe, in the background, guys trying to set themselves up for a fast lap around Zolder. It's a short lap, 1 minute 28 seconds, so just a fraction under 30. A minute 30 seconds, and for all the cars that are out there in the sessions, I'm looking at currently at there are 22 drivers that have set a lap in this session. Carl, where are you sitting?
Let me get my correct timing screen up, and I'll actually be able to tell you because I had the wrong one up, which is not helping me at all. So I have got 20 drivers who have set a lap. 21 drivers who have set a lap in my session now. So as you can tell, it is an absolute bumper field out there at the moment.
Yeah, 23 now, just being registered by Ryan Kasha, and the splits on the screen. That car that you can see in the background, that's MR Sharma, great Porsche Cup driver, really strong in that Porsche Cup. As we go side by side, you can see it on the left-hand side, the server that you were previously witnessing pictures from. To your right-hand side, the server that Carl is in, with all the computer wizardry that Stuart's capable of. Great job, Stu. She's all working there on the right-hand side.
Yeah, we've only got it working on the right-hand side. I will be able to get it working on the left-hand side hopefully shortly, but I'll still leave you gentlemen to entertain the hordes while I get that done. So I'll be back with you in just a sec, and I'll update the titles as well so people know what's going on.
So Carl, the first thing when he said hordes was for the hordes. We were talking about Dungeons and Dragons last season. We're going to talk about WoW this season.
Absolutely, yeah, that's it. I mean, obviously, I was an alpha tester in WoW, which shows.
Wow, no way! Holy cow!
I know. I'm old. Leave me alone. Youngsters these days with their modern servers. So yes, one of my claims to fame is I was back in the alpha of WoW, which is just makes me very, very old indeed. And yes.
Oh, mate. So there you go. Nerdy facts. So we've had trivia last season. Nerdy facts about your commentators this season.
That's it.
You know what we need to do? I think we're going to have to start polling all the drivers and get nerdy facts about them.
Yeah, I think it's important. I'm sure we have got a absolute pack of nerds in our series, as is often the case. I mean, look, we use nerd in the most loving term possible because we are one, but it is a thing. We have drivers out there that are super nerdy about the nerdiest of stuff, of course, like Dungeons and Dragons and gaming, but also, motorsport history as well. We've got motorsport history nerds, which are always fun, and I can tell something's happening over there for you, Scotty.
Fair bit of car contact. So coming around, talk us through a lap of the track, Carl, if you can, because we'll wait for Stuart to settle down first.
Yeah, I was going to wait for Stuart to settle down, so I know who I'm following.
yeah, that's probably a better way to go. Just coming around through, so you've got the double apex complex at so left-hander for turn 1, then double apex and right-hander in turn 2. Cars going off in that next little kink that leads onto the first of the straights in turn 3, and one of them firing back across the track. It is going to be... Oh my god, I don't even see the time on the server. What's the time limit on the servers? 2 hours. We have 2 hours for qualifying this evening, and we are 30 minutes in. So a quarter of the session has now barreled out of the way. So all of those drivers that have been impacted by that one, heaps of time to go back out and set a lap. And remember as well, this is what, the third separate session time slot so far. The Last Chance Saloon to get your way in. If you are thinking about entering AUSPROAM, well, think no more, because Pass 2 is on the writings on the wall for it. I was going to say something about the door, couldn't squeeze it in.
No, that's it. I mean, look, plenty of spots this season for everybody, which is great, and it just gives that little bit more opportunity for drivers as well, because that's something we were suffering with last year. Just lack of opportunity. My server's now jumped up to 30 people entering it and setting laps, and as you can tell, that's a lot of drivers for a single server and for a single series. It makes it very, very tricky indeed. And Dave Roberts just having a big moment, running up in P5 at the moment in the 44, but he just had a huge moment over on the right screen, and so they are really pushing it out there. And Zolder is not an easy track to push on. It is a very tricky, technical little circuit. I'll get into that more later. But it is one of those tracks where if you push a little bit too hard, it is very easy to catch the grass or just go a little bit wide and get yourself a 1x.
Well, it's interesting to know because it's also one of those circuits that actually allows pretty much all the separate manufacturers to stretch their legs and show their prowess as well, because you've got the tight technical sections, which is generally where the Audi and the Lamborghini will really show their stuff. Porsche's sort of in there as a little bit of an all-rounder. Then you've got the BMW who will like to really stretch its legs on the straights, a couple of fast straight sections and running from very low speed all the way up to the top end. You've got the McLaren, another one of those all-rounders of the McLaren, really nice and pointy. I do know that Shane Wallace has a little bit of a love for that McLaren, so I would be expecting to see him out there and turning laps in it this season instead of his championship-winning Lamborghini from last season.
Yes, and we can't mention McLaren without mentioning heartbreak, of course, felt across the motorsport community over the weekend. So hopefully...
Daniel Ricciardo missed out on a podium.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only bad thing that happened to McLaren. Of course, I was talking about Arrow in IndyCar.
Pato O'Ward, yeah, I know!
Out on the championship. Poor Pato O'Ward missing out on the championship. Going out early, unfortunately, after contact very early on and his gearbox failing. So, it was devastating for McLaren. I mean, Ricciardo not getting a podium and missing out on the championship in IndyCar. And I guess Lando did something, but I'm not sure about that.
No. Lando wasn't in the points all day. He barely did anything. Was he even out there?
I don't think he turned up. As think he just sat at home for that one.
Mate, I watched that incident with Pato Award. What are you doing shoving the front wing down the inside of the last corner at Long Beach? That was... and you could see Zach Brown. Zach Brown was filthy.
Yeah, well, we can speak from experience at Long Beach that you don't want to try and pass at that first corner because you end up with a massive issue and a lot of cars being stuck. And yeah, that's kind of what happened. So yeah, look, it is devastating, but congratulations to Palo for getting the championship. I mean, you know, the Spanish had a good weekend. I mean, a podium in Formula One and IndyCar title, their very first title over there as well for the IndyCar series, the first Spanish driver to take the championship.
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend for motorsport right across the world as well, because remember all the discussions and things going in the background. I was actually watching some videos on the Gen 3 supercars as well, and the engines and designs and those. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the brand new Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. We signed off 488. No, I don't own it yet. It's the only GT3 I don't own. And you know what? You know what the most important part is? The Ford is back. The Ford is back in Ozpass.
But has anyone taken the Ford? That's the question. The poor Ford.
I should. I was talking to Sam Lehman actually before the broadcast, and he was just thinking about what car he's going to run now that his options are back open again. I should have mentioned the Ford.
Yeah, poor old Ford. The much unloved GT40.
I love that car.
I adore the GT40. It's one of my favourite cars in history, the modern and the classic GT40, of course. But you got to admit, it's not the most loved car in iRacing.
I can actually confirm, no Fords in my session.
Yeah, I've not seen a single Ford in my session. Lots of McLarens, lots of Porsches, lots of Audis. Not a Mercedes though. Not seeing any of the Mercs out there either. So
I'm seeing a few. So and you got to remember. So we've gone. Remember, a reminder for all of those people who are now just starting to tune in. Last season, Ozpass 4. Well, we moved from 3 cars up to 4 cars. So there was the Porsche, the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, and the 4th one.
The Lamborghini? Wait, you said Lamborghini?
The BMW.
Yes.
That's the one. Yeah, so now moving out to all 8 of the GT3 makes that are available in the server. So big upgrade on that side of things.
You say 8 GT3 cars available, but there's the Lamborghini and there's the Audi, so that really makes it 7, doesn't it? Oh.
Everything's awesome. So it's really cool. Really cool. I'm about to jump in as well. I think I've already put some laps in, but I just I want to. I think I've felt a bit of a change of heart when it comes to the car. I think I want to run
the Ford
for the season. Yeah, the Ford. Definitely not. Definitely not. I think the Lambo was a little bit I wouldn't say nice, but it was a lot easier to extract a lap time or a quicker lap time for me than the BMW. But for me, so far, the BMW's felt the most comfortable, but it's just not quite the fastest car and outright lap pace. So,
do you think that's a Zolder-specific quirk, though?
I just think the Lamborghini has that. I've always said that about pretty much any mid-engine car, is that it's just got that death whip. Or I think, in my opinion, all mid-engine cars have it. Lambo, Audi, McLaren, they're all just planted and then instant death without any warning.
So you're going for the Porsche then, because that has a really well balanced engine over the rear axle.
No, BMW for sure. I can't drive the Porsche either. The Porsche is nice. For me, it does feel really good. But honestly, the most rounded car so far. It has a little bit of understeer. It's quite unusual how much wheel spin it actually has, even with the traction control. But yeah, for me, the pick for me is the BMW. I'm solely focusing on a car that's gonna do long runs is what I want. Maybe it's not going to be super quick in outright lap speed, so maybe I'll be struggling. I'm going to really have to push it for quali. I have managed to sub 28 in a practice session, and then also a 28.1 in one of the official qualifiers. So at the moment, I've set a lap in the Lambo of a 28.05, so I've got to go faster than that tonight to put myself into the Beamer. So, because I do think that'll be very, very helpful for longer races and just a lot more comfortable on full fuel. It's really easy to be consistent in it, which is what, obviously, I think is what wins your races. So.
What's the call regarding car changes this season? So obviously, last season, previously, there's been 2 allowed car changes or car change tokens, if you will.
I believe it's the same now.
Going to be running with the same. So ultimately, if you qualify higher up in that Lamborghini, are you going to spend one of those tokens to shift back to the BMW for a little bit of safety and security?
I'd say yes, because it's going to have to be. I should know this, but I'd have to talk to Sam. But I believe it's the top 5 aren't able to make that change, or top 5 in the championship, so it'd have to be done before then. I believe that's what it is. Maybe I'm making a fool of myself, but I believe that's what the rule is. Sam can tell me otherwise.
He's the guru, isn't he, Sam? He's just on top of everything.
He is. He's an absolute legend, Sam. He really is. He's done just a mega job with everything. All our sponsors too. How cool is it watching this? Watching you guys' broadcast now and seeing all those sponsor names up there is yeah. I got to stop myself from swearing. It's pretty mega. Like really, really cool to have all these as all the new companies too. So it's really awesome to have Echuca, Toyota, John Merritt jumping on board. It's just awesome. It's so cool. And then having the day ones like Sam from 93 and Hayden from HJ Plant Repairs, really awesome. And then yeah, it's just Simrigs and Phoenix and CTC, those guys back again. It's just, I don't know what to say. It's really, really cool. It's really awesome.
I just noticed 1 car change only for there. So just seeing up Sam just typing away furiously up in the commentators room and just letting us know a few things.
Sorry, Sam.
So you've got to jump on it, and you better get out there and set some quick laps then before those session conditions change too much, mate. We'll leave you with it.
Thanks, guys.
So it's interesting change this season, moving away from 2 car changes back to the 1 car change. I like that, to be perfectly honest, because it means that if you're unsure, you need to put a lot of laps in to make sure that you are sure about your car choice.
Yeah, it means you've really got to master those cars as well, because that's one of the big things is, when you've got a few more options, you can sometimes take a little bit of a risk, because you see somebody like Shane Wallace is very fast in that Lamborghini. You think, well, I'll be fast in the Lamborghini, then you get in it, and then all of a sudden you're not fast. And so you sort of go, oh, okay, that's okay, I can quickly change back to another car, and then if I don't like that, I can change it again. I've got my safety net. That really puts the pressure on you, because you've got to go, okay, I need to go for a car I know is going to be good. And then later in the season, if a car starts performing better, maybe there might be a few tweaks and changes here or there, or you might just feel, I might be doing better, say, in the Ferrari rather than the Porsche, or vice versa. It gives you that one option to do it, but you don't have more than that one option, so you really have to focus on. Well, you have to hedge your bets. You really have to focus on what you're doing.
Yeah. If you're going to make a car change, it's got to be one change. It's got to be clear. It's got to be concise, and you just got to nail it. So, look, time's starting to come through thick and fast. So let's actually start digging through them. One of the notable absentees that Sam Lehman had noticed prior to tonight was Danny Davidson. I can confirm he has now dropped out and set a lap, and indeed it's the fastest lap over here at a 1:27.874. That's in the McLaren. Lachlan Capel. Well, we were talking about the 15-year-old with a ton of talent and a ton of pace at the tail end of last season, ripping through the AM standings. He now sits P2 with a 1:27.9. Also in the McLaren. P3 over here is a Ferrari, followed by 2 Porsches and another McLaren. That's your top 6. Let's talk about top 5 makes, models, and times over there from you, Carl.
So we've got a lot of Audis over here in the top 5. So up at the front, we have Brendan Bean setting a very good lap of a 1:27.948. He's just ahead of Jeff Connell in the black Audi. So it's an all-black Audi for Jeff Connell at the moment. So he is out there in the Audi. We have Andre Heimgartner in the Ferrari at 1:28 dead. Timothy Harris is still sitting up there in the top 5 in another Audi. So as I said, quite a few Audis at the top split here. 1:28.2, and then Aaron Lawler is sitting in P5 at the moment in the Ferrari. So it's very much a Ferrari and Audi lockout here. But will we see that later in the session? But I'm just noticing a lot of those Ferraris very popular over here. A few McLarens, but the majority is the Audi and Ferrari at the moment. A couple of Porsches, but the big one is the Audi and Ferrari, I've got to say.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about those manufacturers and what they're producing as we jump over and go deeper into Carl's server for a live look in. We're 45 minutes now out of the way. So, look, Carl, it's difficult when you're picking a manufacturer. They've all got individual unique traits. Let's probably start by talking about the notables from last season, the Audi and the Lamborghini.
Well, quite easy to talk about. Pretty much the same car. Jokes aside, but no, very similar designs, of course. The Audi and Lamborghini, both mid-engine, very similar in the powertrain, power delivery sort of systems, but a little bit different in their aero design, their aero philosophy, things like that. The Lamborghini probably has a little bit of that speed advantage over the Audi just because of the sort of just the shape of it, things like that. But the Audi tends to be that little bit more stable sometimes through the corners. So there are those little tweaks, and that's the thing about these cars. There's not big gaps between them. As Carl Leone was talking about before, they all have their own little foibles, and they all have their own little tricks about them. I've not driven the Lamborghini and Audi in iRacing, but I have in a few other sims, and sort of they do have those little differences about them that you just feel, and sometimes you just get a little bit more comfortable in one than the other.
Yeah, and it's one of those car types. I did actually see, if we're going to vary away from iRacing just a tad, I did see a video a while back about Gran Turismo Sport and the Audi GT3 car coming from there, and how sometimes you actually have to do this process of called throttle on braking just to keep the rear of the car from pivoting around. So it does require a little bit more of that deft touch, but it will reward you with pace when it's there and thereabouts. Next on the latest car to join the stable is the Porsche, which was also a stalwart of last season's results. It was driven quite well by quite a number of drivers too, so a strong option was the Porsche last season. Seeing a fair few less of them this season.
Yeah, I noticed Luke Fit is back with that beautiful design Porsche. So he's back in that one, the Manti Porsche liveries, and I'm still so rotten.
The watermelon?
Yeah, I'm still so rotten on the fact that I've been looking at that all last year, and it just did not click to me what that was. Porsche, very different car to drive. Again, different placement of the engine, a little bit further towards the rear, of course. When we're talking about the engine placements, of course, you've got the Mercedes, the BMW front engine, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, the Audi mid-engine, the Porsche, and the McLaren, sorry. With so many cars, I'm forgetting about them. The Porsche more towards the rear, of course. Porsche's design method with that one. And that does change the way it behaves, and a lot of people find Porsches to be a little bit tricky to drive because of that, because they can have a little bit of a pendulum action to them. But if you get them in that sweet spot, they are one of the best cars to drive. They are just something special.
Then you've got the Ferrari. For my mind, this is probably the easiest car to pick up and drive. It's very bog standard, a little bit rear happy at times, but it drives pretty much what you'd expect from just about most other cars.
Yeah, the thing I'd say about the new Ferrari is it actually it almost feels slow when you're driving it. You just sort of, I took it for a fair few laps around the Hungaroring, and it just felt very steady. It felt very comfortable to drive. I was actually testing last year with the Ferrari as well. I was sort of switching between that and the BMW, just seeing which one preferred, and I tended to stick to the Ferrari just because it was just a little bit easier to drive, and it was a little bit more reliable as well. You sort of didn't tend to get caught out as much by it. It wasn't quite as understeery, shall we say, as the BMW. And that's one of the things about the Ferrari, is it tends to be a little bit more, it has a little bit more oversteer to it sometimes, and that's something that I prefer. And that's one of those things as a driver that you have to sort of choose wisely, is you have to choose a car that is going to suit your driving style. Some drivers prefer a little bit of understeer, some drivers prefer a little bit of oversteer, some drivers like it to be absolutely on the nose, and that's the very different thing. That's what makes drivers different.
It is a fair bit about that, and particularly its low fuel behavior in the Ferrari is very rear happy, wants to slide that rear around and really get its power down to those tyres, which the Italian Tifosi are always fond of seeing rear tyres swirl a little bit under power. Alternatively, perfect segue, BMW, the choice for Matty Cardoglione, be it even though he's set currently his fastest lap in that Lamborghini, he's got a mission to go out there and return to his beloved BMW.
Yeah, we've seen him manage to sneak extra fuel in that BMW in a thermos flask before the start of the race, of course. The BMW, look, what a chunk of a car. That thing is very chunky. It is huge. There have been memes about it for years. Being the hardest car to pass on a race circuit because it takes up the whole track. But it is so well balanced, and that's one of the things about BMWs, is they are just made beautifully. Front engine, rear wheel drive, how a car should be in my mind, but it just works very well, and for me it does have that little bit of understeer tendency just in the GT3 car. For probably a long drive, I would tend to go towards that BMW, just because it's that little bit more predictable in a race situation over things like the Ferrari, where it does, as you say, on low fuel, it gets a little bit twitchy and can be a little bit scary sometimes. That BMW, however, you sort of know what it's going to do every single lap, and you know it's going to probably understeer a little bit, but you can work your way around that, and once you get used to it, you can actually make it go very, very quick.
Yeah, and then, of course, we're getting down towards the bottom of the barrel, but you can't get to the bottom of the barrel without talking about the McLaren, and I fondly remember Luke Bergen's back in the opening series, always up there and always at the pointy end with Jack Boyd fighting away, trying to snag himself a race victory. One of the biggest features to that McLaren is it's got the biggest fuel tank.
Yeah, look, it's got a big fuel tank in it. It's a very small car as well. That McLaren is quite petite. It seems to be, it is a little bit smaller than some of the other cars out there. It just has a little bit less room in it, which is, in a sim race, is not that problematic for you. When it comes to full metal racing, sometimes it's not quite as comfortable. But McLaren are a manufacturer that know what they're doing with sports cars. They have got a vast history with it, and when that McLaren came onto the scene, it made people open their eyes because it was quick. That thing is rapid, and it is very, very fun to drive.
See, I thought you were just going to say it made people open their eyes because it breathed fire out the rear, but yeah, look, it's quick too.
Well, also the papaya, of course. It's very hard to miss that. Seen a couple of papaya McLarens out there. Jason Dunn driving one at the moment. He's just going to hope there's no rain later on in this session, because that might ruin his time. Anyway.
No, Carl. No, too soon. No.
It's still too painful. But yeah, that McLaren is a very, very very smart little car, and as I say, just a little bit smaller than some of the others, a little bit narrower, a little bit lower as well. Center of gravity comes into play with that kind of thing as well. And you know, BMW is quite a tall car. When you've got a lower car as well, it's got a lower center of gravity, so that can help a little bit in some tracks. And through some sections, you know, when you think about very, very tricky tracks such as Bathurst, the McLaren is well suited to that with its low centre of gravity, and it's a little bit more petite size, and it's probably going to do a little bit better on a track like, especially across the mountaintop, than something like the BMW.
I was actually just taking a look, Stuart, just very briefly focused in on the Avast McLarens that were taking their laps around the circuit of Shannon Fever and Matt Stewart. Fever's currently up in P11 in this session. I'll just take a quick look at the timing charts as well. With a 1:29.0, Stewart's a 1:29.9. So the teammates trying to work together here to push the hull through the air. And yep, perfect segue to the back end of the McLaren. And then finally, how could we forget probably the most nostalgic and well, it's not the oldest of the GT3s because obviously that Ford's not available, but it's the oldest of the GT3s that are available in this session. It's the Mercedes.
Yeah, the big old Merc. That thing has got an engine note that no other car gets close to. It might not be the most.
That's
very leery on that.
Yep.
Big moment. Yeah, the Merc. Look, the sound of that Merc is something special. It is a beautiful looking car. It reminds me very much of the old panels. So it gives me that nostalgia buzz, and I love it so much for that. But there are certain things about it that aren't so lovable, let's say. It can be a little bit tricky to drive. As you say, it's one of the older ones as well. It's one of the older GT3 cars, so you know it's not got all the modern accessories. You know, you don't have the lovely aircon and that sat nav and things like that in it. But that does affect it sometimes. But it is still quick on its day. It might be a little bit older, but it is not a car to be trifled with. And if you can get that one in its sweet spot.
When we get somewhere and there's a Mercedes that just barrels off straight off at one of the turns. Yep, that's the lack of sat nav in that Mercedes.
Yeah, it's using a 1990s sat nav. Oh. The driving you into lakes, of course, the old sat navs. I may have had one back in the day and I ended up in a paddock somewhere. That's a story for another day. Yeah, those Mercs, when you get it in that sweet spot, it is really a great car to drive, and you just come out of it smiling because of the noise of it. It's just got such a beautiful sound to it, and when a car can make you smile just because of the noise, it makes you want to go a little bit quicker. As one of the Mercs just takes a little bit too much corner there, as just a few moments ago, getting across the chicane and just bouncing it around and spinning it around there, so not the best way of doing that.
Right, well, we are rapidly approaching the halfway mark of the Last Chance Saloon. There has been, in the realm of 6 hours worth of qualifying listed, 5 of them about to tick by. Places starting to get more and more locked in. But big shout out to all the sponsors across the top of the screen at this stage. We'll start with the title sponsor for Season 5 of OzPass. It is simrigs.com. Big shout out to Derek and Phil Audie for all their support of OzProAm Sim Series. It's been an absolute pleasure having those guys on board, and they're both talented race drivers and also pleasurable guys to hang out with as well, which just makes it all the more beneficial. Computer Technology Corporations, the title sponsor from season number 4, will return, albeit in a lesser capacity. Great to have them back on board as well. At Shuka Toyota, new to the series, you heard Matty Carleone say big shout out to John Merritt for his support of the series. 93 PC as well, been on board for a number of seasons now. HJ Plant Repairs, the original sponsor from season number 1, Hayden Jackson Plant Repairs. Big shout out to Hayden Jackson wherever you are, buddy. I hope you're having a great evening. And finally, Phoenix Smokers. It's once again a pleasure to have those guys back on board. But we can't do it without all of those sponsors. So it is critical to mention to those guys how important they are to us.
Yeah, absolutely vital. Vital to have them all on board, and it makes life a lot easier to bring it to all of you that are watching, and hopefully we can help them out by having you guys take a look at them when you need some new bits and bobs and need a little bit of help in the areas that they expertise in, because that's what we're hoping to do. Is we scratch their back, they scratch our back, and helps everybody out in the end. That's the main thing. Meanwhile, over in my section, it's the 99 Brendan Levine up front in the Audi. Jeff Connell still sitting in P2 in the Audi. We've got Andre Heimgartner sitting in P3 in the Ferrari. Timothy Harris sitting in the Audi in 4th. And Aaron Lawler in P5 at the moment on a 1:28.304. And then it is very close all the way down. It is still so close and so tight out there. The lap times are... There's nothing between these guys. They are absolutely going for it. It's great to see, but it is just such a tight field at the moment.
Yeah, it's an absolute... It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's so tight right across the field. And just taking a quick look at the timing charts as well, it's important to note those times are going to be critical, because remember, at the end of this session, they are going to get compared across everything. You're going to have, or what was the numbers? I think it was, the top 20, 25 or so. I believe AM class was the next 22 plus invite drivers as well that'll be invited on back. And then the rest of them will be available to race in Pass 2. So if you're thinking about getting in, you're thinking about getting involved, and you've missed the cutoff window, that's okay. Pass 2 will still be open, will still be available, and taking your registrations new for this season. Open entry Pass 2. So if you are a GT3 driver, and you don't want to have to worry too much about putting together your own setups, stealing them from the internet and tweaking them somewhere, well, AUSPROAM Sim Series is the place for you, and the racing here has been absolutely on point. With 50 cars on the grid, you would expect there to be absolute chaos just about every round, and it is very few and far between when it does happen.
Yeah, I mean, probably the worst accident we saw last year was at Imola. Imola, where one of the cars up at the front had a bit of a spin, but other than that, it was pretty much perfect throughout the year. There was barely any major accidents where more than at least 2 or 3 cars were involved. There were still the odd bashes here and there, it does happen, of course, but the big accidents were so very few and far between. It was just great to see, and the racing was so close as well.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal. It was absolutely fantastic. So, look, I mean, we'll take what you can get, right? But look, I mean, oh man, the class of the racing has been just so over and above, and to see the guys go down on the wire in multiple championships, places fought and squabbled over in the closing rounds, and then everyone who wasn't fighting for a championship or couldn't move in a spot to switch over the Ferrari at the last, just for a little bit of fun to close the season out. That was a pleasure as well, to say goodbye to the old Ferrari. Well, we have now ticked over that hour marker, so we are down within the last hour of qualifying for season number 5. Danny Davison leads the way from one of the servers with a 127.799. Lachlan Capel, 127.907. Jared Hughes has managed to put himself into the 27s as well with a 27.933. Scott Gray, another returning entrant, a 27.987. And then there is a massive jump, half a second, back to Matty Carleone. What was the target time that he was trying to aim for to beat his Lamborghini time, get himself in that BMW? I think he might be close. He's got a 128.533, and 6 thousandths separates him and the next driver, which is James Majok 2. Oars Academia is a 5.58. So the drivers are quite close over in here. What's the top times looking like over there, Carl?
So over in this section of the server, this section of the world, this alternate reality of Zolder, we still have Brendan Levine up the top. It's been pretty much locked out up there. His lap is standing. That 127.839 has been a blistering lap, and few people are getting close to it. Second is Jeff Connell, 127.987. Third, we have Andre Heimgartner with 128.043. Then it's Timothy Harris, 128.270. And Aaron Lawler, 128.304. Then Maverick Benson, 128.344. And it just goes down very close from Benson to Matthew Johnson, who's down in the P11. There's barely a couple of tenths between them. So it is very much absolutely trying to get that perfect lap, just trying to get through those corners perfectly, trying to set that time just to the best of your advantage, because it is literally, if you take that corner just a couple of kilometers per hour faster than you have before, if you get that perfect exit, you're going to jump up from P12, P13 up into the top 5.
A 10th here, a 10th there, and well, that'll change your position so dramatically. Such is the case. And what a shout out to Timothy Harris. Can we spotlight on him just for a few moments? He was, really starting to come into his own at the very tail end of last season's racing. He was starting to push himself up there. I think he come home with P3 in the Amateur Championship. What a drive that was by him to finish in P3 in the Amateur Championship. And this season, it looks like with those numbers on the board, there's a hot chance that he might actually qualify into the pro class, which is a phenomenal move up for him.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, at the start of the season, he was having a bit of a shocker, and then towards the middle to end of the season, he was consistently P3. I think he was pretty much P3 for almost every race towards the end of the season in that AM class. He was just always there and just sitting there happily, and worked his way there so well. And was just consistency was key for him there. It just really worked out well. So really good job for him in the 93. And it was really nice to see as well for Locked On iRacing, team he races for, of course, and the podcast for catching up on results and things like that. They cover, Tim Harris actually covers the results for the AUSPROAM series. So he goes for a rundown and actually lets everybody know what happened in the previous round. So if ever you miss a race, you can always catch it via podcast on there. And of course, they cover the ANSCAR series as well. And they're a lovely bunch of lads too.
Yeah, it's always nice.
I've been sitting here quietly. Just I've got somewhat less hair than I had at the start, but you can turn your screen there. That is Danny Davison, commentator's curse. Perfect timing there. We finally got the overlay up and running. So we've got the main screen here. So the last 55 minutes or so will be finally with the two overlays. It's not quite as it was, but it's fine. A full reinstall later, and we're back up and running. So we'll be all good for next time around.
Mate, do you work for 93%?
No.
I nearly said 93%, but with those skills, surely, if you ever need a job, Sam, reach out to Sam Lehman, he'll have you. Which was, I was going to say, when we were going through the sponsors, I actually have to say a big shout out to Sam Lehman, because he set me up with a new 3000 series graphics card, and I cannot complain. Absolutely cannot complain. Been a pleasure.
I'm sure you can complain if you tried hard enough. I mean, just not trying hard enough.
I was about to say, Scott, come on, like that's not in the spirit of this channel.
The fans are so good on the graphics card at picking up the dust and cat hair in my room.
Oh yeah, it becomes another part of the weekend cleaning ritual. Does having any sort of computer equipment. Anyway.
This is why you don't own pets, so you don't need to clean your computer as much.
Surely you're prepared for this stream, Carl. It must be time for a quiz of some sort.
Oh, look, I've been waiting for Stuart to be ready. That's been the main thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, time for a quiz. So the original layout of Zandvoort, of course.
Zandvoort.
Zolder, even, yeah. I'm thinking wrong Belgian tracks.
Belgium?
Holland.
We've moved the tracks as well.
Flemish thing going on tonight. It's the reason I didn't introduce the show in Flemish, because it's just way too hard. There's too many different words and too many vowels and just too much coming up in the throat. Zolder, there we go. So the original layout of Zolder held its last Grand Prix in 1973. Who won that race and set the fastest lap?
1973. I'm gonna have to. It's no surprises that it's gonna be a guess. I'm going to go with, unfortunately, somebody who passed away. I'm going to go with Francois Servet.
He set the fastest lap.
Okay, well, I'll say Francois Servet for the fastest lap.
Yeah, sorry. I did. Who set the fastest lap and who won? Sorry.
Won the race. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it was two questions.
Yes, sorry.
Well, around that time, it could have been given that he set the fastest lap in a Tyrrell, I'm going to go with Jackie Stewart.
Congratulations, Stuart wins the quiz.
That's where I was going to say. Yeah, I have no proof, but I just went to Google a list of the drivers from that year, and I was having a look through the teams. And I went, well, yeah, Jackie Stewart. It'd have to be Jackie Stewart.
Buddy, who came third?
One of the other drivers.
In 1973,
Scheckter?
I was going to go with his name escapes me at the moment, which is absolutely appalling. It wasn't Jochen Rindt, was it?
No.
No. Might be a bit early for Jochen. Was it too early for Jochen? 1973? Yeah, I think it might be a year or two early, actually. No idea.
No. I'm too young.
But maybe Bruce.
Too young.
Maybe Bruce McLaren.
No, Fittipaldi.
Oh, Emerson.
Yeah, a little bit too.
No. Hang on. Which Fittipaldi? Because there were two that year.
It was Emerson, of course. Emo himself, Mr.
And did
Emerson
he win the world title in 73?
74.
73, 74. Somewhere around that time, anyway. There you go.
I think 73 was Stewart's last championship, because that's when Severe died and he retired. So 73 would have been Jackie Stewart.
Right. Yes, of course.
So yes.
Anyway, there you go.
Jackie Stewart won. Without he didn't start the final race of the year.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's that's unfortunately an easy one because of the loss of the great Francois Civet, a big loss to the sport. Big shame. Yeah, unfortunately, it was a constant. It was a hazardous time back then. So with the modern configuration, what car holds the fastest lap around Zolder in a race situation?
Because I don't think prototypes have driven here.
An Indy car.
Oh, Stuart's got it. What driver was it?
Sebastian Bourdais.
Yes. Stuart has got it.
I give up. This is rigged. This quiz is rigged.
Sim rigged?
Simrigged.com. Ladies and gentlemen, simrigged.com.
No, I did know that.
Yeah.
Glenn Riddell nailed it too.
Yeah,
with the Jackie Stewart. There you go.
Who came second in that race?
Oh, that I've got no idea.
He's an Australian, I'll give you that one.
Oh yeah, Will Power.
Yep. Scotty, you're off to a bad start this year, mate. You just can't get any right, can you?
I've completely clean sweep this tonight, which is completely unique. The only reason I normally clean sweep is because I'm the only one answering the questions, but normally the people in the chat beat me to it. So I'm going to bow out as champion there. I'm not sure I'm going to get through the studio door by the time this stream finishes. Anyway,
I hope you're brushed up on your Talladega knowledge.
Here we go.
He got another curly bloody question last night. I can't remember what it was anymore. In and out, but this time I wasn't reflecting on such and such's sister and brother who didn't race but did race, and my god. Anyway, it's good to have both the streams back up. Still Davison with that 1:27.792 just set that time, Danny Davison. So he's just opened the margin up over Lockie Capel in the McLaren. So that McLaren incredibly quick. Lockie Capel was telling us, I know you guys spoke about it at length, but telling us that car's quite competitive this season. Hasn't had a lot of love from iRacing over the journey. Plenty of new stuff coming out around it, but the McLaren looking pretty strong, guys.
It is. Just over on this side of the session, Jack Boyd has set a very good lap time in the Ferrari, was it? BMW, sorry, he disappeared off my screen. Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you suggest that Jack Boyd would drive anything other than that BMW?
Sorry, my screen changed to a Ferrari, and I was very confused there for a second because I'm like, that does not look like the Boyd colour. Anyway, he has jumped up to P4, so he has jumped up to P4 with a 128.122. Andrew Dyson now jumping up to P5, just pushing Timothy Harris out of the top 5 there. So Dyso has come out, and he, of course, is in a Ferrari. So he is absolutely racing that Ferrari around at the moment, a 128.156. So times are starting to fall a little bit over here, and we'll soon see if anybody can knock Brendan Levine off the top of the pole. Just big accident there.
What's the maximum pit stalls here is 33, so I don't think they're limited by that. I think they're maximum limited at 62 or whatever. Hang on, I'm gonna have to check it. I just noticed there's 35 drivers in this session who have set a lap. There are 39 drivers registered in this session, so numbers right up there.
That's it. There is a fair amount out there. I believe we've got 32 drivers registered over here, so it's it's a fair amount of drivers out there, and 62 limited. So 62 limit for the drivers out there. So they will be sharing the old pit boxes and things like that, making sure they don't bump into each other too much.
Now, time for me to pick your brain. Like we said earlier in the piece, that I was going to be partaking in Pass 2. Put yourself in my shoes. You're going into the first race of the season. What car do you pick next week?
The Ford, of course, Scotty.
Yeah, the Ford. Yes.
Well,
yes,
speaking of that, is that a good juncture to have a quick look at the schedule for next season?
That's what I was gonna, segue. Look, we've planned segues. We've done practice. We've worked on it in the off season, and now we've brought segues to the show. They will be coming out of the studio budget, Stu, so I hope you've covered segues.
No, absolutely not. This is a limited production show brought to you by Ralph the Wonder Llama and all of his friends.
About to say, you guys been practicing without me? Where's this practice been?
So Segway racing.
This is the calendar. So the season with AUSPROAM and Pass 2 works the same. So the wildcard rounds work the same. Track calendar works exactly the same. So off to Spa next week, you will have to hold out a week for your decision there, Scotty, because you'll be in the Dallara or the Radical. We'd prefer to see you in the Dallara, please. And then it is off to Sebring. We've got Coda Monza for the first of the legs. Second leg is actually basically, we're not really running legs this season, but second leg starts off with that wild card event again with a caddy back, which is great. And then Mazda MX-5, this is a good mix here on Indy Road. And then we head to Mid-Ohio, which is going to be awesome. I love that track. Hungaro Ring new to iRacing. Gilles Villeneuve, a ripper track. Zolder, so obviously where we are tonight, and then it will conclude with an enduro at Mount Panorama on the same week as Mount Panorama week begins, I believe.
Well, we can say begins.
Concludes?
Theoretically begins.
Theoretically begins. Well, let's hope it does begin. We want to see some motorsport at Mount Panorama. So, what are you figuring here, Scotty? I don't want to leave it up on the screen too long and take away from the spectacle behind it, but I've got you down for probably a strong performance at Spa. I've seen you drive there, albeit car might be challenging. Yes, I have.
Okay. Yep. I actually really like Sebring.
I knew you were going to say that. As well, you should.
A lot of people complain about Coda, but I actually recently did a 24-hour race at Coda. I've actually completed 2 separate 24-hour races there, and it's one of the tracks that I tend to like quite a bit. So it's difficult. Managing your axis is a big problem. I haven't turned a lot of laps at Mid-Ohio, but I'm a big fan of the course. Same with Hungaroring. Haven't turned a lot of laps there. Love the track. Look, when I look through this schedule, I just look at it and this is just happiness right the way through. Now, you said the wildcard races.
Yep.
I don't know what to go, to be perfectly honest with you, at both of them, because I'm a big fan of that LMP2, and The Radical SR8 has motorcycle engines in it. How can I not drive that thing?
Well, only because of what it's up against. I think you've got to go the LMP2, and if you choose the MX5, Scotty, I'm not sure there's a place on the stream for you any longer. So.
How dare you!
I have to step in here because the MX5 is a fantastic car to drive. It is a fun vehicle to race in.
Oh dear me. Oh well, I'm willing to be overruled. Majority rules in this instance. So if that's the case, then I guess it's going to be Dallara and MX5.
Well, I'm still not. I'm probably, to be perfectly honest, I've probably spent a lot of time in the fixed setup on the Dallara, so that would make sense. Actually, it was a race very recently in that setup at Spa, so yes, it will be the Dallara.
The Dallara is an amazing car. People don't.
I love that thing.
And I quote the Godfather of ANSCAR here, or a paraphrase probably. It's a fantastic car that people just can't be bothered to learn to drive properly. Kind of like the Indy car, it's a ripping piece of equipment to drive, and particularly if you can drive it. Yeah, well, that's what I was actually referring to, because he did mention it to me the other day when we were doing some planning for ANSCAR for next season. But absolutely looking forward to seeing the LMP2, and particularly seeing Shane Wallace in it as well, because he is blistering in it, and it's just a fantastic piece of kit. So. Any tips to get me into the 128s from Nathan Verney? Let's. What do we got? We haven't even jumped on a lap with anyone.
No, we haven't
yet. So now we can do that. Now we can do that.
Is that Injectors Online car that's out on track at this point in time? How about that for a car to be followed around the circuit?
Injectors Online car. Who are we looking at?
Right side monitor. There's two of them.
Oh yes, indeed. Sorry, I'm looking at 9 different things. Yes, it is. It's Maverick Benson. So. Let's jump on board with Maverick. The timing's right because he's just about to cross the start-finish line. I've just got to get my arms.
I need to get my my map away. So, there we go. But yeah, that's it. I'll try my best Lamborghini impression. So we've got through the first set of corners on to the straight down to the clean chicane. Chicane even. There we go. Turn number 5. So through the chicane we go down towards Butte, turn number 6, which is basically just an overhill corner. Not really a corner in one of these cars. Down towards Trellenbosch 7, which is a very tricky corner. You've got to be careful of these curbs because it's very easy to go wide here, very easy to go across the grass here. These set of corners. Now there's another bit of a straight here, and there is no real straights at Zolder, other than the start-finish straight. Turn number 8, which will get into turn number 9, the Jochen curve. So turn number 9, down towards turn number 10, the Jackie X curve. This is where pit entry is. So turn 10, left, right-hander here. Very tricky set of corners, very easy to go wide on the exit there and catch a bit of grass. He doesn't do that. Benson gets across the line nicely there. This is going to be a decent lap hopefully for Benson. It doesn't improve, but he's still sitting on a 128.344.
Scotty's stream here, and we're on board now with Danny Davison, who's just increased the gap, decreased the fastest lap of the session to a 127.64, and I believe that is the fastest lap across both sessions.
Yeah, he's been quickest across both sessions. I was actually just taking a quick look. Currently, that would put him P1 over all of the sessions. Previous best time was Jack Wittes in the new Ferrari, 127.777. So he's now pipped that post. So number of cars prior to tonight who have gone into the session, into the 127s, 2. Jack Widdis and John Merritt. Jack Boyd previously had not done a 127. His best lap was only a 128.022, equaled by Joshua Fitt. Lachlan Capel was there with a 128.067. He's going to improve with his lap time of 127.9, so that's going to put him a mile out in front. Sicard Leone, wherever he is out on track, he has to beat a 128.078, or else he's going to have to burn that car change, which currently he's at a 128.2, so he is going to have to burn that car change.
Just wanting to put it out there as well, you know, I'm a big fan of numbers and what have you. We currently have 84 cars live on the stream. I reckon that's got to be some sort of a record. There are 42 vehicles in both splits at the moment, and of course we are live on both splits, so fantastic turnout. You know what, when I was speaking to Sam and with yourself, Scotty, about this, and Carl, I think you may have actually been there as well, I was a little bit, I thought, oh, you know what, who's going to turn up with the last ditch effort? Like, who's going to turn up with the last saloon? Like, most of the guys will have tucked themselves into a session or a split they'll be happy with. You know, we might be lucky if it'd be good if we could get 10 or 15 cars out there, and you know, to his credit, is a good miss there. But Sam said, no, we'll need to run 2 splits, and I was sort of, oh, okay, 2 splits, and look at this, 42 in each.
Yeah, he was right.
Absolutely,
he was bang
spot on.
Absolutely jam-packed. Meanwhile, over in this split, Jack Boyd has just set a 128 dead. So, well, almost dead.
That's an improvement.
0-0-1. So he is just tantalisingly out of the 27s. We've got Jeff Connell and Brendan Levine in the 27s at the moment. Jeff Connell at 27.9. Brendan Levine doing a really nice job in that car. Really fast time of the 127.839. So very quick in that Audi.
I was just having a quick look at the times previously as well. Prior to this session, Timothy Audi was the leading AM driver with 128.692. That is just going to get blown out of the water. I can tell you for a fact that Ors Academia was previously his prior lap. He has done a whole bunch of laps in that Porsche. I believe he's in the Porsche again tonight. So he was previously the 128.776. Well, that's a massive improvement, 2/10. Well, he may squeak in a pro. He may squeak in just barely into that pro split, because currently, based on previous times, Hugh McLaughlin had the worst pro split at the time. The crossover time was a 6.83, 28.683 to Timothy Audi's 6.92. So that is going to drift a mile and a half back, and if you are not in the 28s, I don't think it's going to be good enough. I think you are going to have to be in the 28s around here. Speed Demon, he is absolute John Merritt, and a great, and again, bang up guy to talk to. You can go and have a chat to John Merritt quite capably, and feel good. It's a phenomenal guy to talk to. So I'm very curious as to see how he sets himself up. Now, what are we looking at? 25, 35 minutes left in this session. So from my mind, you need to be out on track probably within the next 15 minutes so you can burn that fuel tank down low. That is going to be where you're going to see your fastest times. You're going to want to come back in, fill her up for, let's say, 3-4 laps worth of fuel. Make sure, actually, you know what? You're probably going to want to throw 5 laps worth of fuel at the car. And the reason for that is you want to make sure that you've got some bailout laps there if you encounter traffic at the wrong point in time. Carl, thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Because we have got such packed servers at the moment. You do have to be careful because there are cars catching cars, and that is really catching people out. Meanwhile, over here, Jack Boyd has just absolutely blitzed the fastest time, finally knocking Brendan Levine off the top spot, a 1:27.757. Just an absolutely blistering lap from him, and he just absolutely, I think he was a bit shocked by that one as well, because he pretty much went off at the first corner after setting that lap and was just like, oh, well, okay, that was a quick lap. So I think he just absolutely pushed that one to the limit, but really nice fast lap from Jack Boyd.
I can confirm Sam Lehman has now made his way back out on track. Sam thought, oh no, I've qualified myself in a pro split, what have I done? Was his comments earlier in the night. He did 1:28.325, so we'll see a lap from him here momentarily. James Ruwalt has just joined the server as well. Currently not out on track, but he is in the server as one of the new names that I spotted previously. His previous best in one of the earlier sessions as well was going to be a 28.218, which I'm pretty sure should see him comfortably through. Update on Carleone. Carleone's now gone to a 1:28.061. And boys, that means that Matty Carleone is in by 1/100th of a second to that BMW. So that's it. He's done. He's happy.
He's got that Beamer seat nice and comfortable. He doesn't want to have to get the butt groove in that Lamborghini, so he's decided, that's it. I'm going to stick to that Beamer.
So what are we calling then as the safety zone? What are we saying? What are we saying absolutely guarantees you pro status this season? Is it a 1:28.7?
Well, I think what guarantees you is a 1:26. I think that would pretty much guarantee you.
Absolutely would guarantee.
1:27. 100% 1:27s are in. I would say to get in, you're going to have to beat a 1:28.2.
Goes around.
Have to beat a 1:28.2 for my mind.
We've got 3 drivers below the 1:28. So Andre Hamilton is on a 1:28.043, so he's pretty much on the bubble, same as Daiso. Then it goes down to Tim Harris, 1:28.270. So it's in the 1:27s. We've only got Jeff Connell, Brendan Levine, and Jack Boyd. So not too many drivers in the 1:27s over here.
Yep. Seven, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27? 27 qualification spots. So plus returning drivers. So, yeah. Yeah, and look, I'm having a quick look through. There are about half of the cars that have pre-qualified prior to tonight. Everyone above Michael Rosenblatt, so Daniel Cheney, Timothy Harris, Ross Rizzo, Brandon Levine, James Ruwalt, all of those guys up are into the 28.2s. Everyone below them is a 28.3. So, and notable absences there is Paul Mansell is a 3.15. Maverick Benson, 28.457. I think those times are close. I think if things go in their favour, they'll scrape in.
So we've got Maverick Benson and Paul Mansell over here. So Benson's done a 28.344 over here. So
that'll improve him.
Yep. And Paul Mansell 28.422.
Not an improvement. So that's worrying. That's a big worrying sign.
It is so close out there, though. That's the thing, is we've got drivers that were pretty much guaranteed pros last season and throughout the years that are now struggling to get into those positions because it's just that improvement over the field and just those improved times. It is just crazy just how quick these guys are getting those cars to go and just how close the competition is, and it's great to see as well. And I'm sure everybody driving will be absolutely loving it as well, because the competition drives competition. It makes you go faster in the first place, so they're going to be loving it because they're really going to have to push themselves to just get that extra tenth of a second out of themselves.
Well, the benefit of the qualifying format as it is well, with 3 separate 2-hour sessions, and is that you've got enough time. You can have a bad night and come back. Like, there's more than enough time, but the problem is if you're still not out there and you still haven't set a reasonable lap, now your time is running out. And I'm just keeping my eyes on James Ruwalt is one of those newer drivers. I think he's in. For my liking, I think he's good enough. But yeah, look, I mean, he's going to go out there and not take a risk. He's going to come in and see what he can do.
John Merritt just casually slices in with a 28.18, just in case he wasn't in already, which he was, of course. But he just slices in casually with that one, so he will 150% now guarantee himself a spot in the pro class. Looking at some more of the new names, we've got Amar Sharma as well. He's popped in with a 128.72. Shannon Fever, 128.74. Ryan Casher, 128.76. So 4 drivers there with Zach Wentz-Smith as well above them, 128.65, and Oz Akdemir as well with a 128.56. So there's literally, what have we got there? 8 drivers that have just slotted themselves in, all new to the series, and well and truly on the borderline of qualifying for pro.
Oh, mate, this is a cracker. This is a cracker. Matty Cardiglioni's just sent me a private message, just said, just beat my Lambo time, beam it is. Haven't had to work so hard for a lap time in that long. Not great for shootout laps, but great on race pace. So he's happy. He is over the moon, but he has had to work so hard to get the car there and get himself there, get himself comfortable, and get himself in for next season. I'm just keeping an eye on as well. Sam Lehman, don't take your eyes off him. He's out there turning laps. I think this is just more of a race sim for him. He's just going to try and get himself settled around a lot of those drivers that are trying to qualify, because this is a really good opportunity to drive around those drivers that you're going to potentially be spending most of the season long. There's 88 drivers across the 2 servers. Well, the bulk of them are going to make it in, so a really good opportunity to test yourself.
Well, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, no one here won't qualify for a series.
How great is that?
That's
how
absolutely
great
fantastic.
Is that?
Absolutely. So
That's
we're just
fantastic to hear.
on Q1 there in front of you. We've got James Ruwalt, who's just about halfway through a flying lap. He hasn't set a time yet. I think he just went copped an off track, didn't realise from Pace Syndicate, so another team entering the fray. And on Q2, looking at Maverick Benson, who's a little further down than we were expecting to see him, a 128.34 in the Injectors Online entry. Of course, a returning teams champion from last season.
And that marker, that lap of Maverick Benson's, I have a feeling that's going to be the bubble. Something just tells me he is going to be either the lead car in AM with that lap or the last car in Pro.
Yeah, I think you'd want to be the last car in Pro rather than the lead car in AM.
Oh, 100%. But like, still, something in the back of my mind is just saying that lap, that is just barely good enough. Especially Jared Hughes. I'm just taking a quick look. I don't think he's previously set a lap, and he's in the Q1 session.
Jared Hughes, yeah, he is. In fact, he's popped right up into P3 with a 1:27.93. Last flying lap was a 1:27.96. Fastest of the Ferraris by a considerable margin.
And Scott Gray is up there as well, and I'm not seeing a previous time for him. So that's 2 spots. That's going to shuffle a whole bunch of guys down. So that pushes Ryan Kasha and Hugh McLaughlin get pushed below that bubble into the M class.
Just had a driver pop his way up into P6 over here in the second lot, and that's Dennis Kotarek. So a 1:28.186 for Dennis Kotarek. Good to see. We saw some really good pace out of Dennis Kotarek last season, and it looks like he's brought that over for this year too.
So that in my mind pushes Jai Potts out, and that pushes Christopher Henn to the bubble, which brings that lap time now to a 1:28.6 by my estimations. Is currently the last time that'll make it into Pro Split. But that moves him down. Oh, my apologies. Yeah, so Christopher Henn won't make it on that time, so he needs to improve. And I haven't seen him. Have you guys seen Christopher Henn this evening?
I've got Christopher Henn over here on a 1:28.442.
So he's improved, so therefore he's still safe.
Yeah. So you were saying the 1:28.6 where you?
Yeah. So currently anything that's outside. So Christopher Henn's previous lap is a 1:28.610. So I've got just at the times that I'm able to look at this stage, and the drivers that I've already got timers for that have improved, what I'm seeing is that anyone below him is now forced into the AM class. So Adam Funslow, I think, is the bubble time right now, and that's on an eyeballing.
Okay, because we've got Dustin Fletcher on a 1:28.448, and then it's Jai Potts on a 1:28.650.
Funslow's out.
Battle going on between Harris and Kotarek at the moment. Timothy Harris just setting a time just slightly faster than Kotarek, but with 1:28.166 over the 1:28.186. So Timothy Harris moving himself up into P6 over here, just ahead of Kotarek. So those two are battling it out at the moment, trying to see who can set the best time. Well, strongest performing car over here is Jack Boyd in the BMW. Oh yes, by overall numbers.
Parity is the point you were trying to make. How good is that? We're going to see that battle all week long. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, keep your eyes out for the balance of power that's going to be coming out each week. It is based on success. So there is a gradient that Sam Lehman will be applying. Tim Orty's just come a grief, actually, just keeping an eye on things. I think that's going to have a huge impact.
Of course, that was one of the old Lamborghini tractors as well, not a modern Lamborghini sports car.
I was talking to somebody today. Now, if you had your way, any car manufacturer in the world was going to add a GT3 to the mix, what car manufacturer would it be and why? I went with a Honda Acura or an NSX, something in those lines. Somebody else said Skyline. So now I want to pick your guys' brains on cars you'd like to see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look. Are we talking
GT3 cars?
Are we talking modern manufacturers as well? I can't just pick an obscure, like, 1940s British manufacturer. I'm not thinking of Mini. God.
I mean, could we just, like, I would love to, first and foremost, please iRacing, please reach out to Mini Cooper and get the Mini Cooper racing onto iRacing, because that stuff is phenomenal as well. But could you see a GT3 level engine in a Mini Cooper? It would take up the back seats.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Carl.
I was gonna say, yeah, the Jaguar was just a beautiful looking car, and you know, it had that Aston Martin and Jaguar racing against each other. Just that was a good time. Of course, I'm going to go Morgan because I want to see a wooden GT3 car. A Balsa, of course. It's the lightest. Well, there was a GT. I'm pretty sure there was a Morgan GT3 car back in the day. So they have raced GT3 cars back in, I think it was 2009. There was the Aero Supersports version, and that thing is just an absolute monster of a thing. If you ever get a chance to look it up, look at the GT3 Morgan. It is just a spectacle.
Oh, word. Things that I didn't think I'd hear ever. Wooden GT3 car.
If they can, and Jaguar, get the Bentley on here. I know obviously a set of course has got the Bentley, but that thing is an absolute beast.
The Bentleys are just... Look, I might be a bit biased with Bentley, with my bit of history with them, but Bentley, just absolutely. We need to see the Bentley. We need to see the Speed 8 come in as well. We need to see that beautiful Le Mans Bentley come in at some stage, as a car that just needs to be in more racing games. That thing is just one of the most beautiful looking race cars of all time. But Bentleys in general, just because they are ridiculous.
Glenn's just dropped in with the Pagani as well. Maybe make the Zonda get something to help the McLaren out with the flames that burn the car behind it. I mean, if Zonda were to make a car, it would be the prettiest one. Because they like to anodise everything.
What's that car that was in the fake one that was made by the Saudi Arabian maker for the most recent Fast and the Furious movie?
We've lost, mate.
The one that was
that's modern stuff. We don't.
I've seen so many videos on it because it doesn't even have an engine basically, and they were like, oh yeah, this car's worth 60 million. There's diamonds in the headlights and things in the movie, and I was just like, okay. And then apparently, they haven't developed the engine for it yet. You can look at the body shell, but the engine's not necessarily there. Anyway, something that was just pointed out to me as well, again in private message, so thank you to Lachlan Cable for that. Don't forget, OzPass 2 will only have the slower of the two wildcard classes this season, so the only cars that will be on offer will be the Radical SR8 and the Mazda MX-5, so there you go.
Well, I'm disappointed. Anyway...
Carl's not. Carl's over here like, yeah, this racing's going to be fantastic.
I guess I'll get over it. I guess I'll move along. You watch in the Bathurst broadcast, they'll be like, oh, I can't believe the MX-5s. Anyway, well, I actually had fun. I raced the MX-5 not too long ago. It wasn't too bad.
See, that's something we should do, is Bathurst 24 hours in MX-5s. That would be great.
Oh, no, doing it for 20 minutes is bad enough.
Well, what we've got now to focus on, though, is the last 14 or 13 minutes of qualifying for Season 5 of the AUSPROAM Sim Series, thanks to simrigs.com, Phoenix Smokers, HJ Plant Repairs, Chuka Toyota, CTC, Computer Technology Corporation, and 93PC. We've got a full schedule coming up for you for the run to the end of the year. Can you believe it? We're talking about December already, but that's when this one's going to conclude at Mount Panorama. But we've got a lot of racing to go between then. It's going to be 3 effective splits. We're going to have the Pro and M class last year, Pass 2. Who's going to qualify where? We reckon anyone sub 128 is safe. We reckon a 28.6 or below will get you into the Pro Series. And
I don't think a 6 or below. I think you've got to be in the 5. You're safe, I think, for me, anywhere from a 3 onwards now, looking at it. A 4, you're on the bubble.
Just want to point out the battle that's going on over here between Timothy Harris and Gatarik. Those two are actually on track together, still trying to beat each other's time. Gatarik has just set a 28.145, so just pipping Timothy Harris on a 128.166. These two have been exchanging times for the last couple of the last 20 minutes or so, trying to beat each other constantly, really doing their best. Yeah.
Don't slap the wall on your way into the pit lane, by the way. Not good. Not good for you being able to qualify well.
Good for you for the race the next day, though, because you'll probably win it.
Look, how many rain dances can you do?
Oh, dear.
Can I just say, once again, the standard of driving has been Lycan Hypersport. Thank you, Mark Capel. Thank you, Mark Capel. That was the Lycan Hypersport that I was thinking of, the one that didn't have the engine. Anyway, the standard of driving, even though it's qualifying, even though we've gotten people out here that have not yet driven in an AUSPROAM Sim Series race, has been phenomenal. The drivers continue to show the highest of qualifying standards and allowing drivers to get off on their own qualifying laps. So AusPass and AusPass 2 are going to be, I think, once again, probably the highlights of the Australian racing sim world for driving standards.
Yeah, there's going to be some great GT3 action on both of those series. It's what we've been enjoying so much, is just the driving cleanness of the driving. The fact that these guys have been so clean and racing so clean as well, and that's something you don't get everywhere, unfortunately, because you might jump into the old official here and things like that, and you sort of just get taken out by somebody deciding to take a move up the inside of you at somewhere like Long Beach, just out of nowhere, and clipping you in the back and ruining your race and things like that. But it's been so different over in AusPass. They've been really respectful of each other, and when there has been the odd accident, people have put their hands up and said, look, sorry, and they've learned from it as well.
Just letting
it's
you know,
not saying...
John Merritt's just done a 27.83, popped himself up into P2 into Q1, so solidly McLaren top 3 in Q1.
That will be done and dusted, I think, for John Merritt too. That will probably be more than enough for him. He'll be happy with that one. So, 10 minutes. We are under 10 minutes to go in AUSPROAM Sim Series qualifying for Season 5 to take you through to the conclusion of 2021. How pretty does that Porsche look on the screen, BTW? The shots that you were getting of it in the pit lane before, Stuart. Chef's kiss for you, my friend.
Yes, absolutely.
Just looking at some of the drivers further down the field as well, and some of the new drivers. We've got Nathan Varney out there I know that he's a fast peddler over in the Skip Barbers and some other series as well. He's down in towards the bottom of my time. He's 37th position at the moment on a 29.253. But by no means, that's nothing compared, so close to the times above him. Really trying to put the pressure on the guys above him and just doing a good job out there for the first time. And that's going to be a driver to look forward to in the future, because he's going to improve hand over fist. And, that's going to be one to keep an eye out for. We've also got people like Luke Fitz down there as well, and they're sort of just not setting lap times that much fast. Names that we've seen time and time again, and they're just struggling to get up there just to those pro times. But then we're seeing drivers that were solidly in the amateur class last season doing a great job, just absolutely belting it out the park tonight, and absolutely setting those times that are going to get them into that pro slot and get them into a slightly different category, and they're going to have to be racing in a very different style as well. So really exciting season coming up for us.
And look at the tightness now between the times in terms of the drivers. There is 6 drivers in the Q1 split that are currently into. Actually, I think it's 7 drivers now. No, 3, 6. No, just 6 drivers that are into the 27s in the Q1 splits. Those drivers will all be guaranteed to qualify on through. Don't even think about them not being moved on. That is more than good enough. Let's talk about, for my liking, what you need to do to get yourself into the AM split. I don't think, having a look at those times, that you can do anything less than the 28. I think you've got to be in the 28s if you're going to qualify.
Oof, that's a big call. 28s. That means on Q1 we're down to 23. So Jeff Wang, the last one to slip in there with a 29.02 for Andrew Hayes, back for his second season in the series. And Carl, on your split, that actually gets you a fair chunk of change, getting down to the 28s.
Glenn Boyd is the final car in a 28s and a 28.849. Then it goes to Andrew Goldman on a 29.05. So Glenn Boyd currently running 32nd overall. So there are quite a few cars in that 28, in the 28s, but still quite a few more in the 29s. So it's it is very close. And as I say, it's such a narrow margin between these guys. It is barely anything, and it's literally, if you just get a better drive out the corner on one lap, you are going to improve a couple of positions at least.
Yeah, it's that close. It's the hundredths to get yourself up 2 or 3 grid positions, and that could be all that you need.
Well, hundreds is going to get you at this rate. If this sort of pace and this sort of preparation continues on for the remainder of the season, hundreds is going to grab you 10 spots.
Yeah, it could well.
It's going to be that tight. And crucially, I'm just having a quick look at Andrew Hayes. Previously, his best time was a 129.181. So a 129.023. If that improves him moves him up about 7 or 8 spots, and that is 1.5 tenths.
Yep, and that's enough. That's enough to probably get him home. Look, so I definitely think that's probably about the correct margin. I think he's on the bubble. Unbelievable. It's been this kind of season. Carl and I talk about this often in Ann's car broadcasts, where we see 3 drivers. It's obviously a lot easier to do. I say a lot easier to do. It's not easy to do at all, but it's more understandable in oval track racing to set identical times because of the nature of the racing that you're doing. It's still unusual, but you can sort of comprehend why it happens. Here, we've got handfuls of drivers on exactly the same lap, it's just it's gonna make it. There's going to be heartbreak. There's going to be plenty of heartbreak when the administrators go through the list, put this massive list together, and start cutting it up.
What the impressive thing about that is they are on identical car times in different cars, and that's impressive. I mean, when you're looking at NASCAR, they're pretty much all the same vehicle these days. There's not really any difference, especially in the iRacing side, between the Ford, the Chevrolet, and the Toyota. But with these GT3 cars, you've got different engine layers, you've got different weight balances, you've got different heights, different sizes, different widths, different length, everything is different about them.
True.
And to set identical times like that is just impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what to say, but nothing to add. I'm out.
No, yeah, nail on the head. Yep. It is close, and it is getting closer. Well, minutes remain. Under 5 minutes now before your class of Season 5 will be announced. I'm going to call them class because at the end of this, they are going to be alumni of one of the closest series in Australian GT3 racing. That is for certain. Well, if you missed out, it may be over in terms of qualification for AUSPROAM Sim Series. That is the benefit in the innovation from Sam Lehman that is Pass 2. And if you haven't seen the updates on Pass 2, it is going to be a curtain raiser time slot, a mini, if you will, open entry for all the wildcard rounds. It'll be only running the lowest speed variant of the two options that will be presented. So for the first round at Spa, that will be the Radical SR8s. That is going to provide phenomenal racing, and there won't be any lap traffic to deal with. We're just going to up the ante just a little bit more. And for the alternative round, which was later on in the season, will be the variant between the Cadillac CTS-V for the Oz Pass guys, and for the Pass 2 guys, sorry, they'll get Pass 1 will get both CTS-V and also the Mazda MX-5, whereas Pass 2 will only have access to the MX-5. It's going to be a cracker of a season. You do not want to miss a minute of it, and we will be back here next week from 7:30 to bring you all the action from the first wildcard round of the season. Boys, it is go time. If you're not on a fastest lap, it is time to start one.
Absolutely. Just speaking of fastest laps, Matty Cartaleone just drops in with a little bit of a quicker lap, 27.89, moving himself up to third in Q1. And we've got Jack Kofeed. Jack Kofeed has just put in a 28.37 to move himself up into 13th in Q2.
Funslow just moving up to P8 over here on a 128.253, absolutely knocking his previous lap out of the park. Fantastic lap for Funslow in the McLaren.
And he is on your Q2 screen as you look at it.
How about that? There you go. Timing. Talk about him. And they shall mention, well, we are inside the final minute. The one benefit that you don't have, the one thing that doesn't normally happen, qualifying will get extended. So if you cross that start-finish line to start your lap, before that checkered flag comes out, you will get to complete that lap. If you do not start that lap, that is it. You are over and done with the next time you cross the line. It won't be a hard cut session. That is a result of the heat racing format that AUSPROAM Sim Series does do. So that's why you normally see that. That will be it for that last car that was on screen. On off track, that'll invalidate his final lap. Now down to the hairpin goes the 23 machine. He's looking to see if he can finally piece together his qualification spot for the AUSPROAM Sim Series for season number 5. 2 corners to go. Throws into the chicane. Kink left, a kink to the right, and across the line. What's it gonna be?
Just missed the line for the new lap.
That will be it. Checkered flag is out. That is it. AUSPROAM Sim Series, you are on your final laps. Will you qualify? Will it be good enough? And that was James Ruwalt that was on his last flying lap, 28.554. I think he's done enough in a previous session, so that won't matter too much, boys. But it has been an absolute cracker of a qualifying session. How often can you say that over 6 hours worth of qualifying, it comes down to the last few moments and we're still not sure who qualifies?
Yeah, Brendan Levine trying to get that last lap in, just crossed the line a little bit too late, so just missed out on that one. Dennis Katarik does not improve on his lap, so he sits there in P6 still. So over here, not much improvements. Adam Funslow was the big gainer in that last few moments of the session.
Jack Kofod in your session, Carl, still going around. We've jumped on with him on your Q2 screen. Just having a look here on Q1. James Reward, I think, missed out on his chance to get that one started. Hugh McLaughlin's finished as well. Let's jump on with Darren Sharp, who I mentioned, another new entrant to the series. He's done a 130.13, so he's going to be wanting to look. Even a 10th or 2 up on that will get him a fair jump up the timing charts and might just see him get into AM.
Yeah, it's going to be really close for some of these guys. They are pushing it, but I think it's just giving up on that lap, and a few cars just not able to improve in their sectors, so they're just deciding to stop it, and a few more cars just deciding to just go hell for leather and just see if they can finally make it. Not much less to lose, really. Just trying their absolute best there.
Well, I can tell you the session itself has 15 seconds remaining on it. So it is about to be over and done for. 5 seconds remaining. Remember, any incident point will cancel that lap. It's not going to be enough time left for the driver in your Q1 screen. That session has expired. The qualification process has finished for AUSPROAM Sim Series Season number 5. Proudly brought to you by simrigs.com. And somebody's joined us in the booth. I think it's time to find out who our qualifying drivers are.
I don't know. Sam is a magician, but if he's got that
I don't think he's that good.
I was going to say, if he's got that worked out after what we've just seen, 94 cars across the two servers. I reckon, as I said, that'd be some sort of a record. A fantastic turnout to the Last Chance Saloon. And we do have a category organiser here, Sam Lehman, joining us. Sam, we were on board with you, mate, when you were out running some laps in the Audi there, ending up 17th in what we ended up calling Q1. A good result there, but what a turnout.
Yeah, epic turnout, hey. It's more than we could ever have asked for, and it's just awesome to see everyone getting out and getting behind us. It's exciting from our point of view, because we put a lot into this series, and you start a new season and you're never quite sure what's going to show up, but yeah, couldn't be happier. It's been an amazing night, and seen some awesome driving. I'll tell you what, you wouldn't have seen an awful lot of talent if you jumped on board with me, but yeah, pretty epic.
Oh, the drifting looked pretty good, mate.
Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't look good in that Audi. No, it doesn't.
Put it this way, Sam. You've got nearly enough entries here, just based on the Last Chance Saloon, to have 2 separate sets of AUSPROAM Sim Series. Well, we've got Pass 2, and Pass 2 was supposed to be open entry. You're going to have to close off qualifying for Pass 2 next season.
Well, that's the point of Pass 2. You know, we turned a lot of people away last season, and we want to expand, and we want to make the space to have more people. So hopefully our qualifiers who don't make the Pro or the Am stick with us for Pass 2, because I think it's still going to be a pretty awesome competition. And this is the first season of Pass 2, but I'm pretty. I've got an hour's drive to work in the morning, which is a job I've recently started, and it gives me a lot of time to think and ponder and come up. And Pass 2 took me a good month to really settle on exactly the format I wanted to come up with. I think it's going to work really, really well. So I hope everyone sticks with us for Pass 2, and it becomes something and grows into something even bigger in future too.
The driver, of course, on screen celebrating is Matty Cartaglione, one of your partners in crime, shall we say. The reason he's celebrating, he's in that BMW, not the Lamborghini. That's a win for him.
Don't know what he's celebrating. He came third or whatever it was.
Shots fired. Shots fired early, but
I should give him some props. He's my teammate when we run the team's championship, so you know. Good. I'm glad for him.
Mate, you need to find a new team. Teammate. If anyone is looking for a new teammate, Sam Lehman is for sure.
And just speaking of that, do you want to run us through the championships that we've got this season? Of course, with a couple of changes there.
Yeah, sure. So, of course, we've just been talking about Pass 2. Pass 2 is our new curtain. Well, we could call it a curtain raiser, maybe second split. It's an opening race to our evening whereby, and I'll just, I don't have it in front of me, I'll just pull it up so I can get the exact format. It'll only take me 2 seconds. So, Pass 2. So the main round we do, of course, is our sprint format with the 2 races. So AusPass will actually be coming back to a 15-minute race 1, and that won't have a pit stop. and then there'll be pit stops in the second race. So the cars will have a bit more fuel this season to start the race, and that means we can get through the first of the sprint rounds without a pit stop, and the second race will be a pit stop race. So 15 and 40 for AUSPASS. Pass 2 will start the evening, and that will be with a 10-minute qualifying session at 7:35, and then a 30-minute race in those sprint rounds. Enduro rounds, so AUSPASS won't change. It's still a 70-minute race. It's a little bit later in the evening, only a fraction, just to make space for Pass 2 to have a 40-minute race to start. So that'll be pretty cool nights with a 40 and a 70-minute race for Pass 2 and AUSPASS. And then the wild cards, so we'll have 2 15-minute races for Pass 2 and a 20 and a 30 for AUSPASS. So slightly longer second race for AUSPASS this season.
So what that means for us guys is you got to limber up your vocal cords, because there's plenty to call. If it's anything to go on last season with the type of racing that we saw right throughout season 4, there's going to be a ton of action for season 5. So Sam, not to put the screws on you too hard, mate, but when are we expecting to see the announcements? When should people look out for the announcements of the splits and who made it in and what have you over the coming week or so?
So tomorrow night, we'll get that out straight away. I'm actually already, as we're talking, already downloading results from tonight's sessions and dropping them in and starting to compile. But we'll get that out tomorrow night at the latest. We made an announcement mid-session that the AM will actually there'll be 27 entries. We'll be taking 27 entries from qualifying, not just the 22. So there's just a few more AMs from quali. That leaves, if my memory serves correctly, wrong time of the evening for doing maths, 6 wild cards that will just be allocating over the next 24 hours, and be a full entry list published tomorrow night.
Well, there you go. So no mucking around at all. So we're going to get a pretty quick response and look, because it was mighty close. We had 8 drivers sub 128 in this session, or across the 2 sessions tonight, and then fistfuls of drivers in the sub 129. So it is going to come down to thousands. And just having a quick look, Angus Chappell, Matt Andrews, Zach Wentz-Smith, all with identical times. So that's
wow, 3 more with identical times.
Brent Barker and Tim Audie as well with 28.99s, and the list could continue if we wanted it to. So that's just from the split that's on the main timing monitor in front of me. So it is going to be interesting how that one splits out, but there is plenty of strong competition in this series. And those who do miss out, I can tell you that Pass 2 series is going to be heavily competitive. Scotty, you're going to have to jump off, mate, and I think probably jump straight into the sim and polish up.
Training begins now.
Yeah, that's it. Polish up on your caddy skills.
Well, I can't drive the caddy, so remember.
You can't. Oh, no, of course you can't. Polish up on the CV skills anyway on the MX-5 and the Radical.
Tell you what, what's the chances of getting that Ford added for me, Sam? No? Oh, I'll be the only driver in it.
We need to talk to Stu about running the stream in black and white if you wanted to run the Ford.
Wow. Very harsh.
I mean, we could get a Model T for him. It would probably be quicker than the GT40. And then...
Oh, all right.
Dare I remind all of those present that the very first series of the AEE Championship we used to broadcast on FGME Cast was, in fact, won by that Ford that you're talking about.
That just shows how long ago it was.
Well, yes.
I was waiting for that.
We've been broadcasting for 4 decades, so of course it was a while ago.
It was won by one Tazio Novolari.
One Medjewell Fangio actually won the first series of Australian Enduro Championships.
Anyway, look, it's probably about time that we wrap things up. One more big shout out, of course, to all of the sponsors who've rejoined the series and the newcomers to the family. So Simrigs.com taking over the lead sponsorship of the series for all of your sim racing gear. They've got a whole heap of stuff coming back into stock. We were talking with the boys there just this week, and they've got a whole heap of stuff available again with a full rig and everything you need to get kitted out. Phoenix smokers so that you can cook food while you're putting your sim rig together. Some fantastic equipment there. HJ Plant Repairs, the cornerstone foundation sponsor of the series, and of course Hayden Jackson, a participant in it as well. 93PC if you need a computer for your sim rig. That is Sam's business as well, so go and have a chat with them. Computer Technology Corporation coming back for a second season, and we are very, very thankful for them. They have a keen interest in one Lachlan Capel, who did a very, very sharp qualifying lap tonight, and of course welcoming on board Echuca Toyota as well, with John Merritt equally doing a very impressive qualifying time tonight to complement the one he'd done a little bit earlier. But Echuca Toyota, for all of you Victorians, give them a call and order yourself a new Hilux or whatever the case might be. I recommend the Hilux and the Prado. They are both fantastic units.
When are we getting the Toyota 87 into the GT3 class? That's the question we should be asking.
It'd be cool if we get like a Supra, wouldn't it? How much fun would that be?
Oh, Sam.
Not with the motor that's in them. I was thinking those little the 3-cylinder turbo Echo. Is it an Echo?
The GR Yaris.
Yeah, they're actually an impressive little car.
You can have the Xfinity.
Yeah, very impressive. Like. Barrel of laughs to drive, actually. I was very shocked when I drove one of them. A lot of fun.
We'll extend the question to you now. If you could add any GT3 to the roster on iRacing, what would it be and why? And don't you dare say exactly what Carl said. We don't want to hear the wooden GT3 again.
Oh, if I could add it, this is the thing. I'm too much of a car guy. There's about 5 of them that I'd turn around and go, I'd have them in a heartbeat. But if I had to pick one, version 2 of the R35 GTR. Glorious.
I say, I
guess the Morgan's probably going to get there first then, Sam. That's disappointing. Very disappointing. That's not what I was expecting at all. And on that sour note, no, it's not a sour note, but on that note, that brings our stream to a close. Thanks for joining us, Sam, for a chat afterwards. Of course, we are very thankful, as I'm sure the 94 odd drivers who turned up for all of your work in the off season with yourself and Maddie as well. It looks like we're in for another ripper season, and that doesn't happen by accident. And we're very, very excited to be bringing it here on FGM Cast. We had a couple of technical difficulties at the top of the broadcast, so if you do jump in and have a look, don't worry, we got them fixed eventually. And the 2 series format, very, very excited to be bringing that back next Tuesday evening from 7:30 on FGM Cast. Slightly early kickoff time. It's good. It means you can put it on just after the kids go to bed and settle in for a relaxing night with the missus watching on your TV screens. Carl and Scotty, thank you very much, as always. 2 of the best in the business for tonight. The 2 hours flew by, and it's been a ripper. Carl, tomorrow night we're back with the Thunder Series.
We are indeed, and we are off to the Roval. There we go. Yes,
we are off to the Roval.
Yes, it's been a long few hours of talking. Off to the Roval, yes. So it's going to be a road course for the Xfinity cars. Of course, you get to see a Supra in that, though, with the Toyota Supra racing around in the Xfinity series.
Damn it, Carl! Damn it, Carl!
You might have missed the Supra in this, but we get it at Xfinity. So that, and then of course we are off to Talladega for the Cup Series, for the chase on Thursday night. So make sure to join us on FGM Ecast for both of those races.
Yeah, my manager on the phone. I need a new broadcast team. If anyone's looking for a new commentator, I'm done. I've had enough.
What have I done wrong? I'm just here running the cameras.
No, but you're in charge of Carl. So like,
oh, not at all. Not at all. That is not a lead that I hold. Carl is his own man. He does his own thing. But no, that's it for us. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7:45 FGM Ecast, your E-Place for Pace. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we will see you then.